पधारो हमारे देश যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে, তবে একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে। যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে।
बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के, बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के, रूम झूम रूम झूम रूम झूम के, बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के, बरसने लागी।
तोरे नैना की लागी कटार सजनी, चैन पावे न मनवा हमार सजनी, चैन पावे न मनवा हमार सजनी। तोर नैना नैना रे तोर नैना की लागी कटार सजनी।
pani sari gari sari pagari gari zani sa sani pava gari gari sa sani pava gari gari sa sani pava gari gari sa vata pi ganavatim bhajega vata pi ganavatim bhajegam sari gari ga sari sari ga sagari zani pani sari ga pani sari gari zani pagari vata pi ganavatim bhajegam.
Robert Burns wrote, "Till the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of time of life shall run." And love blooms in the most unexpected ways, in the most mundane of places, and magic happens. For the last 2 years, while the world has been grieving under the burden of the dreaded pandemic, love is what has been helping us to move on. During the dreaded days of the pandemic, we at Prabha Khaitan Foundation organized various virtual events to keep the morale of our patrons high. And now, the foundation has curated to celebrate the everlasting emotion of love, Festival on Love Literature. Established in Kolkata in the 1980s, the organization is dedicatedly working towards socio-cultural welfare and humanitarian causes in more than 40 cities in India and as well as overseas. Prabha Khaitan Foundation brings a day full of enchantment with the Festival of Love Literature virtually. And today with us we have Miss KR Meera. KR Meera is an Indian author and journalist who writes in Malayalam. She won the Kerala Sahitya Academy Award in 2009 for her short story, Ave Maria. Her novel, Arachar, is widely regarded as one of the best literary works produced in Malayalam language. It received several awards including the Kerala Sahitya Academy Award, the Odakural Award, Vayalar Award and Kendra Sahitya Academy Award. This novel was also shortlisted for the 2016 DSC Prize for South Asian Literature. In conversation with Meera is Miss Nisha Susan. Like Meera, Nisha is an author as well as a journalist. She has written The Women Who Forgot to Invent Facebook and Other Stories. Thank you.
Hello, Nisha. It's lovely seeing you after such a long time.
I'm feeling very giggly. I will try to compose myself so that we can talk about love in a very composed way.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so you know what I want to ask you? I've been wanting to ask you this question for a very long time. Once in an interview, you said, and you were talking about Gospel of Judas. In that context, you said that all my life I have wanted a dangerous love. Do you remember saying this?
You are just treading into the dangerous area, no? Actually, that is true. What I said, that I meant it. That all my life I had been dreaming of a very dangerous, very impossible love. Uh, I think only that would thrill me even now.
How do these two things go together? Why would an epitome of someone who matches all your ideals and principles, why would that person be a dangerous love?
That the question is very difficult to answer. Uh, but such a person or such a concept is always dangerous. That is, it doesn't suit our middle class life, our mediocre framework, our reality, day to day reality. That as an Indian woman, I am kind of living in. So that becomes dangerous.
To want such a thing is dangerous, or to get such a thing is dangerous?
Both.
Both are dangerous. So I know, I'm really intrigued because a lot of your books are powered by women who choose dangerous things. They choose love. They choose to reject love. They reject marriage. They choose to act out their heartbreak in ways that are just like unbearable to watch, even as a spectacle. Right, in Poison of Love, she declares herself a widow and she just goes into this descent, and you know, as a reader you're thinking, why is she doing this? And then you ask yourself, is it, what kind of response did you want? Did you want a muted response to this betrayal of everything that she held? Right, so when all your women choose dangerous
Yeah,
love.
they choose to express their love, their disappointment, their heartbreaks, all in a very dangerous way, also very different way. Mm, so that being different from the normal must be the thing which guided me, if you ask me.
Right. So sometimes, you know, you say that,
See, Nisha, all these women, they are not loving. They are not in love with some chosen men or individuals. They are in love with certain ideals, which are very dangerous in our society, or in our they this kind of, maybe it is. This is looking for something beyond our existence, beyond our realities. But this is what keeps me going. So every book, I will say that actually, each one of my books, when I write them, I'm going through that process of searching for higher meaning of love, or higher meaning of values, or higher existence of myself. So that happens with every book. The Poison of Love or Meera Sadhu, which you mentioned here, actually I wrote it at a time when I was looking at love, or I was tormented by the different aspects of love, or my experience from others' experience, and I wanted to bring out something from that. It is kind of creating a sculpture from what you have, no, from a very amorphous or jelly-like thing. So I can't say that that I have found out or discovered, or I have found out the precise things with each book. I was just experimenting. I am even now. I am experimenting with the books which are being written also.
Right.
So this is a quest or a search for a higher meaning.
Right. So I'm also
And I
really
find,
sorry. Go on. You
and
find
for an Indian woman in a middle class setup, it is always dangerous to even to explore. Even when we talk about empowerment, even when we talk about financial, educational, all this coming forward, no coming. Even then, it is there. The chains of patriarchy, visible and invisible, they are guiding us, and it is kind of those chains are those chains actually constitute the part of a even I don't get the right word, the a bigger chain or a stronger chain of kind of fascism, the political reality, uh, mm, the societal thing, everything are connected to each other, no?
right. No, and so it's strongly connected in all your books, but I mean, in Cover, your latest book and your latest translation, the one that I did, I found that it's very, very hard to even separate like where fascism, communalism, patriarchy, how you can't separate it at all the stories sort of link, and it comes in unexpected ways. So as I was working on the translation, I kept thinking what is happening in this book is so fascinating, because the history of Hindus and Muslims are like tied and cannot be separated, but the history of men and women seem to be in some two different planets. It seems to be like rotating on separate axes, right? So I found that really striking. There is a moment in which in Cover where the heroine asks the male protagonist, like, why do you always call me madam, right? And he says, and she's a judge and he's a person that she met in the context of a case, and he says, because what you crave is respect, and that is what I want to give. And while I was working on the translation, it's like I was watching some thriller or like some really like romantic movie. I would occasionally call up my friends to like tell them about a line. And this line I call.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you. I haven't officially thanked for you. Oh, thank you for that excellent translation. Thank you so much.
No, that was my pleasure. So whenever I would call up people and I would just read this out, and then if my friend at the other end is a woman, she would be like, there would be that automatic feeling of like, just going straight to yes, that is really what we want. That is really what we want. Of course, we want respect, but we also want it in this magical context, which is created in Cover. It is not respect in that arid, dry, politically correct way. It is respect in this really beautiful and sensuous fantasy world. So the thing that I actually keep wanting to ask you is, and I haven't had a chance to ask you this question, is there is this exploration of love that happens in different books, but it's also like a highly sensory experience, right? So when you're reading say, for instance, in Cover, it's a lot of about fragrance. There's the Edward Rose. There are all kinds of fragrances of plants and leaves and flowers, and there's that whole thing. In the Unseeing Idol of Light, everything is about the visual, right? Somebody sees bats, someone can't see, someone is seeing visuals of a hanging body. The first time he sees her, he smells the flowers. The first time she sees him, he's masturbating in the bathroom, right? I mean, it's just like, and so the experience of reading a book is just like a full sensory experience. And I've always wanted to ask you, is that something that is happening as a thematic in the book as you work it, or is it something that you sort of, I know you're a spontaneous writer and you just write in that moment when you catch the wave, that's the expression you use. There's a wave.
Yeah, true. It's like a tidal wave, which actually sweeps me over and uh, drowns me sometimes. Um I'm asking myself how I get these metaphors from when I'm writing something. Uh, these stories actually they come to me like visuals. I don't know, this belly border kind of thing. No, I see visuals. I see the whole thing as pictures in the backdrop of my mind, and all I have to do is to describe them. And for that, you need a suitable metaphor. Luckily, most of the time I get the metaphors too intact. Uh, Sometimes I like to edit out certain metaphors because those were repeated in my earlier works, if I remember. Most of the time, I don't remember what I wrote in the other book or the previous book, and that is how Khabar was important to me, because before that, I never attempted to write a book. I can't say before that, all my life, or before Arachar actually. Till Arachar, I could do this multitasking in writing. I could write a script in the morning, chapter of novel in the evening, and then news report or a feature story at night. The whole thing was, the switching over was very easy. But after Arachar, I lost that faculty. Arachar or Hangman actually changed me in that way. Uh, that I couldn't do anything uh, except that book. So after that, it became I lost the other ability of multitasking, writing something in the middle of another thing. And by the time I started in Khadagan or Assassin, it became quite difficult for me even to read some other books uh, while I'm writing. So this is kind of a complete burning away, or I don't know how to express it, but it is like that. So in between such an intense book, I was forced to write Khabar because I wanted to keep a promise. That promise was given to one of my mentors in journalism. He had asked me to contribute a novel for them for their special issue of Malayalam Manorama, where I worked as a journalist. So I really wanted to keep my word, and that's how I tried to write another book in between the longer novel. And that's how Khabar took place. And at that time, I was blank when I sat down to write Khabar. But then Advocate G. Mohan Raj, he's our family friend and a very well-known lawyer in Kerala. So he accidentally told about a magician client his father had. So his father was also a very renowned lawyer. So at that time, I got the spark, and I knew that the story was already in my mind. I only wanted some character to actually tell that story, and that's how Tangal happened. Bhavana was always there, waiting for the right Tangal to appear at the right moment. And so that was the whole book was magical. Even the writing was magical because I took 2 weeks to finish this, and after those 2 weeks, I realized that I felt that have been working for about 2 years. So it was kind of yeah. After that, I was not the real self, same self again. Everything changed. But again, this while I was writing this, it was like in like a trance. No, you so many things come to you. Once I met Tangal and I transformed myself into Bhavana, then everything many things which were actually buried deep in the subconscious came up, and it was not difficult to write the book at all. it was difficult in the way I had to research on the day-to-day activities of a district judge and all. So the legal aspects of the case and all. But then otherwise, writing the book was easy because it was a book already written in my subconscious, already in my subconscious. That's what I feel about that.
Oh, that's amazing. So I know that the Malayalam book, like many of your other books, have been hugely popular, like popular in a kind of way that English novels in India, like we can't even like hope of it, right? So I know it sells many thousands of copies. So I wanted to ask you, when you locate yourself as a, like, you've won every literary award in Kerala, but you are also someone who writes to Farmaish, right? Your friend asked you, or your mentor asked you, or someone you have a connection with asks you to write, and you're writing.
You know what? When I my kind of write, I wish to write, or I can write only when someone asks me to write. Unless a publisher or an editor really demands for a work, that thing, no, it doesn't come out.
Yeah. No, but that's a very loving relationship also, right? Someone asks
It is really inspiring to think that someone somewhere actually is looking forward to reading what I'm writing. I think that's a real inspiration, or the real kick off, or the real kick I want to start writing. If nobody or if my readers stop asking for the next novel, maybe I won't write. Because unless there is someone to read there, I won't have that motivation to write.
Right. So, I mean, I totally get a sense of that, because whenever you talk about a particular book, you talk about the context in which someone asked, and there's this Aish, and then you wrote it. So that actually really fascinates me, because it's located in a literary reading culture where people buy books, or they're reading your story as serialized in a magazine over several months. So you're also writing that way, and you're someone who, you were a journalist, you've written for television. There is this constant vision of the reader, just waiting outside the door, in one sense, right? So when you started writing novels, right? When you started writing novels, you're entering a reading culture where people are writing about love. Like, many people have written about love. That seems standard. That's the first thing we all write about, right? But now there is this huge body of work, and I mean, I'm asking you a difficult question, but I'm asking, what is it that your novels, which are about crazy women doing crazy things in love, like crazy love, okay, how has that shifted, I think, or basically, I won't ask how has that shifted. That's a horrible question to ask. What is it that they have done, these crazy ladies, that has not been done in these novels that came before you? Like, before Meera, what was love in Malayalam literature, and what is it now?
That's a very difficult question.
I know. I know it's a very difficult
I wanted to write about women who were not written about before I started writing. So that was a real motivation for me to start publishing stories. Because I have been writing, or I had been writing stories 24 hours in my mind, but I was not planning to publish them. But I think that real inspiration to write more stories, or publish more stories, to be precise, came from the fact that there were many stories which I would like to read, but they were not written yet. So this is exactly like Toni Morrison said, if there is a book you wish to read and hasn't been written, no, you are the one to write it. I hadn't read her at that time. So I followed her advice even before knowing it. So I thought of, okay, there is this vacuum of the women of my generation, the women of my kind or our kind, not being actually reflected well, portrayed well, heard well, and seen well. So why not? Why? So I thought it is my mission to bring them into the main scene. So otherwise, what is happening? You are kind of conditioned with, or you are taught from the very beginning that only certain kind of women exist. No, I want to tell them it is a lie. All sorts of women exist in this world. And their stories are utterly shocking compared to the stories you have been reading.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. So actually, in this context, I was wondering whether you would read a section which involves this very surprising character in Khabar, the Bhavna's mother.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a character that many readers have just been very excited by, and for obvious reasons. So I wondered whether you would read from the Malayalam, and then I could read the same section in English as follows. Yeah.
So shall I read first?
Please.
From Malayalam?
Yes, please.
So Malayalam cover looks like this. This cover is also designed by Saidul Abbots, published by DC Books. 2013 അമ്മ റിട്ടയർ ചെയ്തത്. അതിന് 7 കൊല്ലം മുമ്പായിരുന്നു എന്റെ വിവാഹം. കല്യാണത്തിന് 2 ദിവസം മുമ്പ് രാത്രിയിൽ അമ്മ എന്റെ മുറിയിൽ വന്നു. കട്ടിലിൽ കൂടെ കിടന്നു. മുതിർന്നതിന് ശേഷം അതാദ്യത്തെ അനുഭവമായിരുന്നു. ഞാൻ ആഹ്ലാദത്തോടെ അമ്മയെ കെട്ടിപ്പിടിച്ചു, നെഞ്ചിൽ തലവച്ചു. അപ്പോൾ അമ്മ ഇടറിയ ശബ്ദത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞു, നിന്റെ കല്യാണത്തോടെ നാട്ടുനടപ്പനുസരിച്ച് അമ്മയെന്ന നിലയിൽ എന്റെ കടമയൊക്കെ മുക്കാലും തീർന്നു. അങ്ങനെ തീരുന്നതാണോ ഒരമ്മയുടെ കടമ? ഞാൻ കൊഞ്ചി. പിന്നെ തീരാതെ ഇനി എന്താ ബാക്കി? നീ പ്രസവിക്കുമ്പോൾ കുറച്ചു നാൾ ഒപ്പം നിൽക്കണം. കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങൾക്ക് 3-4 വയസ്സാകുന്നത് വരെ വേണ്ടി വന്നാൽ സഹായിക്കണം. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞാലോ? കാശിക്ക് പോകണം, അമ്മ പറഞ്ഞു. ഞാൻ ചിരിച്ചു. അച്ഛൻ വന്നത് തന്നെ ഒറ്റയ്ക്ക്. അച്ഛൻ സമ്മതിച്ചത് തന്നെ. സമ്മതം ചോദിക്കലൊക്കെ അവസാനിപ്പിക്കുന്ന കാര്യമാ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്. എനിക്കൊന്നും മനസ്സിലായില്ല. പക്ഷെ അമ്മയുടെ ശബ്ദം പൊന്തിയത് ഹൃദയത്തിൽ നിന്നായിരുന്നു. എനിക്ക് എന്റേതായിട്ട് ഒരിടം വേണം ഭാവനെ. അമ്മ എന്താ ഈ പറയുന്നത്? ഞാൻ എഴുന്നേറ്റിരുന്നു. അമ്മയും എഴുന്നേറ്റിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ എന്റെ കയ്യിൽ പിടിച്ച് കണ്ണുകളിൽ നോക്കി വളരെ ഗൗരവത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞു, 7 കൊല്ലം കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഞാൻ റിട്ടയർ ചെയ്യും. അപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് എനിക്ക് ഒരു തുണ്ട് ഭൂമിയും ഒരു ഒറ്റമുറി വീടും വേണം. എനിക്കിഷ്ടമുള്ളതുപോലെ ഒരു മുറി.
I love this bit. And there's so many things I love about the mother character. The fact that she's reading The Vegetarian when the daughter is reading, and then she asks, have you read it? And she says, Bhavna says something, and then she's like so contemptuous. She says, yeah, you're so busy, you can't read like books. Like, what kind of a useless life are you leading? Is the implication, right? So I really
see, Nisha, exactly. This is what I was saying. My mother reads a lot. Your mother reads a lot. Many of my friends' mothers reads a lot. But you very rarely meet a mother who reads, who discusses politics in our literature or in our movies, no?
Absolutely.
So that
where are they, right?
Where are they?
Yeah.
Why aren't they there?
Yeah. No, it's really something. It's kind of shocking, actually. So I'm just going to quickly read this in English for all those who are unfortunate enough to not understand Malayalam. Okay. Amma had retired in 2013. I had been married 7 years then. 2 nights before my wedding, my mother had come into my room and lay down next to me in my bed. For the first time since I had become an adult, I hugged her joyfully, put my head on her chest. My mother said in a quavering voice, tradition has it that after you're married, 3/4 of my duties as a mother will be finished. Is a mother's duty the kind of thing that gets done? I pouted. What do you mean? What else is left to be done? When you're about to have a child, I'll come and help you for a while. Help you until the children are 3 or 4 years old. And after that, I'll go to Kashi. I laughed. Sure. I can just see Achan coming along. Alone. I can just see Achan letting you go. I'm talking about ending this business of asking for permission. I didn't understand a thing. but my mother's voice was coming from the depths of her heart. I want a place of my own, Bhavna. What are you saying, Amma? I sat up. She sat up too. She held my hand, looked into my eyes, and said with great seriousness, I'm retiring in 7 years. By then, I want a scrap of land and a one-room house, a room of my own.
And it was so brilliant of you to translate it as a room of my own.
Must do. It was must do. So satisfying. So I know we have another book to look forward to in within either this calendar year or the next. Do you want to tell us a little bit about?
It's almost finished. It's almost completed. I only need to go to that place to take a look at it.
Okay.
I could have written it even without going there, but I think that because it is delayed, by the time I finish all these 3 books, I was about. I am in this condition where you see I can't remember things, I can't get the right words, I don't know what to do next. I can't decide on simple things like if you ask me what I want for lunch or dinner, I can't give you an answer. Because I will be just thinking about it over and over again. Some connection was broken after writing 3 books at a time.
Yeah. Exhausting.
But then the other book again, I will say that Khabar and the other book, which is titled Kalachi. Kalachi is both these books actually. They are like this twins. This twin which hasn't vanished. It is still there. So I think that book also was in my mind from about 2013. I wanted to write it. I had all the backdrop, everything ready from 2013, but I was waiting for the right character,
right woman to appear.
Right woman to appear.
Yeah. So from what I've read, obviously I'm not going to give away any information, but there again, she makes these astonishing choices in chapter one. And I remember reading that chapter and thinking, what? Okay. And I was also very grateful now, having read all your other books, that horrible things has not happened to her yet. Like, I'm sure horrible things will happen in the future. But right then she was like gliding and confident in her choices, and I was really enjoying that. So I wanted to ask you, outside of your like recent reading, do you think any particular novel or movie has been a big inspiration? I wouldn't say inspiration, but has like formed your idea of love in some way?
Recently?
No, it could be long back also.
Yeah, is this my idea of love? I think Ayn Rand has an influence on me.
Who? Sorry, I didn't get
Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand. I'm really scandalized and shocked.
Yes, she was the first one to correct me if I. She.
So many things blame that woman for, but continue.
Pardon?
I said there are so many things to blame that woman for.
Exactly.
Add to that the corruption of Meera.
She was there. Then my otherwise no. Of course, Kamala Suraya has influenced me, but then there was kind of a generation gap or a sort of difference there. Of course, they were all. She was the one who showed us the paths and gave us the courage. But then Then the writer who has influenced me beyond any words is, of course, Marquez. Marquez was there. Maybe this magic and magical realism, everything happened from there. But then, if you ask me to go to a single film, of course, Charulata was there. Satyadray's movies. I can't remember
No, it's
it like
hard.
that.
It's a hard question also.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because had you told me this, I would have.
No. I just thought of it right now because I'm usually when you ask this question, I mean, if anybody asked me this question, I would forget the name of all books I've ever read, honestly. So, I mean, but I do get a sense of why Charulata would be an influence. I do like, I feel
Yeah,
that.
I've written about that.
Yeah, in your
Yeah.
books.
Charulata, of course, had been an influence. And then there are it's more than movies and even stories. There are people, real people, who have kind of shocked me and gave me the possibility that the other side is also possible. No, so that's also there. Yeah, I would say it. This we talk about this for framework, and there are many people who had always broken out of this framework and
leading novelistic lives.
Yeah, exactly. Although I am not that, I was never ready to take any risks which would affect my writing space and writing time. No, I can, I will guard my work and my writing first, than doing any rebellion. So I'll be rebellious if that is affected, but then all my rebellions are kind of centered around or move around the actual process of writing something. So this is kind of a I want to I don't know, I can't break that mold. No? This when I have to write something, I can forget everything, overlook everything and concentrate on that, because that is something physiological. And that's something very essential for my very existence. Rebellion comes through that. So
my favorite, one of my favorite writers, Vivian Gornick, she talks about this. She talks about going through this phase where you think romantic love will satisfy you, then you think about sisterhood through through feminism, and then other things, and then eventually she says it's the solitude of the working mind, which then hits all the spots. It becomes the addiction that you cannot live without, right? You can live without. So so I think those were my questions for the magical love session, and thank you so much for.
And I wanted to ask you one question, Nisha.
Please.
From your book to my book, no. So your generation was actually not much picturized, like as in the woman who invented who
forgot
to invent Facebook. No? So from the stories, when you come from that story to Khabar, a story like Khabar, how did you feel? So you were the author of the first book, and then you are like kind of the recreator of the second book, no?
Oh, okay, like that.
So how did you bridge that generation gap?
Well, I mean, I didn't honestly feel any generation gap with Bhavna. No, not at all. So that's what I like about your characters, that or the reader who is reading on the inside can see all the things that's going on in Bhavna's head, right? But and it's like uncontrolled energy of all kinds. She's thinking about all kinds of things, but on the outside, she's so respectable, and she's a judge, and she's prim, and she's like saying all the correct things. She looks after her work. There's a child, there's a mother, there's a father. but in the inside of our head is like cannot be controlled by anybody, and I really like that, because I like
Then your characters are also like that. They're very unapologetic, and that's how what I found. I enjoyed. That's why I enjoyed those stories. So, but I was wondering, certain things which I wrote about in Khabar, they are quite unknown to you. You are not familiar with that surrounding. For example, the Yogeshwar Namavan, the temple, the things like that. No, that those myths. But you have actually, you could somehow. You did a good job by by traveling with me to the past. That's what I am saying.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and my privilege to do it. Thank you. I mean, I'm really happy it worked out. I'm really happy it worked out.
On behalf of the foundation, I would like to thank Ms. KR Meera and Ms. Nisha Susan for this session. I would also like to show my gratitude to our presenter, Shree Cement Limited. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our patrons and audience, without whom these sessions would have not been possible. Once again, thank you.
ये इश्क नहीं आसान, इतना ही समझ लीजिए, एक आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है.
From centuries, Urdu poets have roamed the brightest realms of their hearts and have been lost in the deepest alleys of their being to capture love's nuances right up to the 21st century. These gems reveal the fascinating observations of our own life, its glares, shades, and riddles that captivate and touch the hearts of lovers everywhere.
कहते हैं इंसान इश्क करने के लिए ही बनाया गया है, मगर जज्बात और एहसासात की इस पेचीदा गुत्थी को समझने और सुलझाने में उसकी उम्र गुजर जाती है. इश्क क्यों, कब, किससे होता है और इसका अंजाम क्या होता है, ये ऐसे सवाल हैं जिनसे इंसानियत अपनी इब्तिदा से पंजा आजमाई करती आई है, पर खातिर खा नतीजे तक नहीं पहुंच सकी. इश्क में लातादाद ऐसे जज्बात हैं जिन्हें हम महसूस तो करते हैं, पर उनका इजहार नामुमकिन है. इन जज्बात का इजहार वो खास लोग करते हैं जिन्हें हम शायर कहते हैं.
Giving voice to every feeling and emotion that a person is bound to experience once struck by love.
यूं तो हजारों शायरों ने इश्क से जुड़े मुख्तलिफ पहलुओं पर शायरी की है, मगर ये किताब लव, लॉन्गिंग, लॉस उन अशार के जरिए मोहब्बत के सफर को एक दिलचस्प कहानी की शक्ल में पेश करती है.
Though all of us have been through this journey, but each of those travels is distinct as per the sensitivity of each individual, as rightly said by Firaq Gorakhpuri. हजार बार जमाना इधर से गुजरा है, नई नई सी है कुछ तेरी रह गुजर फिर भी.
इस किताब में खास क्या है? लव, लॉन्गिंग, लॉस इन उर्दू पोएट्री में शामिल किए गए हैं मीर, गालिब, मोमिन, दाग और फैज जैसे आपके पसंदीदा 300 शायरों के 1250 अशार.
Come, let's explore where do our love lives fall in this index. Love Longing Loss in Urdu Poetry is a charming and unconventional book. It peeks through the bouquet of alluring, confounding and sacred selection of the most favorite Urdu couplets of Rekhta's founder and author of this book, Sanjeev Saraf. With a lyrical rhyme translation and meaning of all difficult words in English, this book will appeal to all familiar or unfamiliar to Urdu script.
शायरी की दुनिया में कदम रखने वाले नए दीवाने हों या अच्छे अशार को पढ़ने के शौकीन, मोहब्बत के शहदाई हों या फिर इश्क को एक फलसफियाना नजरिए से देखने के कायल, इस किताब में ऐसे तमाम लोगों के लिए बहुत कुछ है.
Love, Longing and Loss in Urdu Poetry is out and about, charged with the most complex of emotions we deal each day in the most romantic language on earth, Urdu.